In this video, we're going to look at arpeggio technique, and the most important feature in playing arpeggios fluidly in the right hand is having the thumb go under quickly and within the rhythm of the passage. In other words, if I play a C major arpeggio, and I'm going to be playing C major arpeggios for this lesson, we want to have the C be prepared here with the thumb. I don't know if you can see it here, with the thumb at the correct time. We don't want to leave it and then have a gap in the sound like this. So this is the way we want it to sound. We don't want it to sound like this. This is a bad example right here. Like that. That you may have heard there's a gap in the sound, and that's because in this case I wasn't able to reach the C at the right time. So there was a pause in the playing, and this is something we want to avoid at all costs, so to speak. So in order to reach that C, regardless of the size of your hand, we're going to need to pivot on the G, which is the 5th degree of the scale. And I'll just run through the notes of the C major arpeggio. And an arpeggio, just as a side note here, is a chord but played one note at a time. So instead of playing this, we're going to play the notes one at a time, and this is a very common feature in piano playing arpeggios, that is. So the notes of the C major chord are a C as the root, the E as the 3rd, and the G as the 5th. And just to say, with this technique, it will also work with most of the arpeggios in our book, most of the sharp key arpeggios especially. So what we want to do is play the first 3 notes and then pivot on the G here, on the 5th degree. Do you see how my 3rd finger is shifting and allowing my thumb, which is under my hand right here, to reach the C? So you're going to need to play this 4th interval in this kind of unusual hand position where your thumb is under the palm of your hand. And this will facilitate good arpeggio technique. The next and second most important feature is what I call the flop over. And sorry, this is not a technical term, but I think it accurately describes the technique. And that is, once you play the C, then the rest of your hand will just kind of fall into place, and you'll articulate each note one key at a time. So once you play the C, then the rest of your hand, you can see, just sort of falls over, or flops, for lack of a better word, over, and you'll play the notes one key at a time, and it will look like this. Something like that. Now, descending, we're going to want to angle the right hand in this fashion and pivot a little bit on the C here with our thumb and come over in this kind of flop or falling fashion with the hand on the G. And you have to be very accurate with your 3rd finger here. This part of the arpeggio is relatively easy, but then when you want to reach that 4th from the C to the G, you'll need to be very accurate. So you might want to just practice this motion several times, and then your 1st finger goes on the E and your thumb will reach over to the C, and so it will look like this in a slow motion. Then flop over. So ascending this way, descending this way. Now in the left hand it will be similar. We're going to use an F major arpeggio. In this case, you'll need to prepare either your 4th finger or your 3rd finger, depending on your preference for these arpeggios, whichever is more comfortable for your hand. And everyone is different in terms of this finger choice. Some people prefer the 4th finger, some people prefer the 3rd finger, but they're more or less equal in terms of technique. For me, I use the 4th finger. So you'll pivot on that F and then go over to the A, then play the C, and then the F here. And also we're playing an F major arpeggio right now, and the notes are F, A, and C. Then descending, our hand will move in this fashion And we'll just need to prepare that F here. So our thumb will need to go under from the A to the F and prepare that. Then we're going to kind of do this flop motion from the C, from the F rather to the C, and play the final notes. So we'll be like this. Thumb under, then flop.